Hello everybody. We have a game with the black pieces against Gary GT rated 1800, who's just cruising into the Caro Kann exchange variation, followed by C4, the Panov attack. We're going to develop our knight, and he's going to come at us on the light squares pretty hard, so we need to defend. Now in this particular variation, we do not bring the bishop outside the pawn chain because our light squares are just way too weak since he attacked it with two different pawns. So we're going to play the modest e6, make sure that we're solid on the light squares and face no problems. So he just develops his knight towards the center. Fair enough. We take his c pawn. It denies any possibility of him playing c5 himself. He takes with the bishop, the one downside of our move, helping him develop. But now we just develop our knight to its most natural square, cover the diagonal, hit the center. He has an isolated pawn, so he's going to use it to attack, and we're going to use it as a target. Well, I mean, his goal is to get rid of the weakness, right? He wants to push. If we take and he takes, we're just not developed. So he could push if he gives up his dark square bishop, but I don't mind seeing that because I'll be on a nice diagonal, the only one with the dark square bishop. And it's not like he's going for an advantage, he's trying to get rid of a weakness. So he just develops towards the center. If I blockade this square and he takes my knight, his bishop's hanging, but I have c7 hanging. Interesting. If we hit the bishop and it drops back to e2, that's a bit sus. So I'm just going to castle. I mean, he can arrange for the push if he wants, but like I said, it's him trying to get rid of a weakness. It's not like he's crushing us or something. Our position is fine. We can always just get the bishop out this way, depending on what white does. So he just moves his rook, plays the normal move. The more pieces we trade, the easier it will be to target this. But I don't want to trade and have to also get an isolated pawn. It defeats the purpose. So one of the common moves is this and this. Here, takes, push. Takes. I mean, it's a lot of trades. My bishop's on a good diagonal. Good endgame for me. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Now that my king is castled, it undefends these squares, but I think it'll be fine. So one of the maneuvers to play against the isolated queen's pawn is this knight jump, which oftentimes attacks something and then reroutes itself to the center. In this case, I'm not attacking anything, so it's not tempo. But if I can solidify these knights like that, okay, so he just pushes without taking this knight first. So, I mean, I'm going to get this guy because he's kind of on the edge, so let's bring him back in the game. And he takes, so he's up a piece. Even, let's say. Ah, I gotcha. But let's take our piece back. Still not sure how this works for him. Okay, now he takes another piece. If we take the piece, he wins a piece, right? But if we take this way, he wins nothing, right? And we can just go back to the outpost later. We're up a pawn. Yeah, so he tried to liquidate the weakness, but I think we're just up that pawn. And now he's going for maybe some batteries here. He's also going to get a rook opposite our queen. So we need to get our queen out of the way somehow. And actively. Queen a5. Seems like it does the job because I can swing over to the king side. It looks into his position, across the board. Oh. Okay, that hangs a knight, right? He's going for checkmate in 1. So even if his knight wasn't hanging, I could play g6. I could play knight g6, although that runs into h4. So let's take the free knight. I told you queen a5 was active. I wasn't kidding, was I? Let's analyze this. Short game. But I think it's very instructive because when I was lower rated, maybe I was, I don't know, 1300s or 1400s back when I was trying to play the Caro. And one of the lines that can used to trip me up was this Panov attack. And so let's go through it. So we start with the Caro Kann, and the whole point is we're trying to solidify on the light squares. So he wants to just tear us down on the light squares maximally. He's going to do it with 2 different pawns, and we also have 2 pawns that can defend. But he's also going to have a knight. That's a 3rd attacker on this square. He's going to have a queen on b3. That's a 4th attacker on this square. And if you don't have 4 defenders, or if you don't defend this and the b pawn at the same time, you could run into trouble. So we recapture, and this opens up our light diagonal. He attacks us again, attacking our light squares with a pawn and opening the queen at the same time. So because this is so fast, you don't want to be bringing your bishop out to f5 like in lots of other Caro lines, undefending your b pawn, and this move doesn't help defend your d pawn. So it's like it only hurts you, doesn't even help you. So we develop and defend the light square. And now we just defend the light square and develop. Because if you bring the bishop out, you're going to face problems with queen b3. So instead we solidify. And then you definitely don't have to take on this turn. You can keep developing. So let's say the engine will say bishop b7 or knight out. They're both fine moves. I'd take a little prematurely. It's premature because you help him develop his bishop. So if you develop one more turn, and then let's say he goes bishop d6, and you take, then you save a tempo, but he's not going to go bishop d6. He'll probably play on the queen side with the knight and the queen out to pressure your center. So I just take immediately, knowing ahead of time I'm giving him the development and that it's engine-wise not the most accurate, but completely playable. Now we just develop a piece and block the diagonal. So our light squares are pretty good. There's no pawn here to attack. And the b pawn should more or less be fine. Any type of doubling shouldn't really hurt us. The one thing we have to, the one concession we make to get this solid position is the bishop is inside for a little longer than usual. But so what? Now we just develop and center. King safety and development. And now here you have lots of moves, but I go for this idea. It's not the most accurate move. It's, why don't they give this an inaccuracy? That's weird. Okay, maybe, I guess it is one of the better moves. I have all zeros, 9 cent pawn, 97% accuracy. But this can't be the best, is it? Yeah, it's not the best. So b6, just developing your bishop, is best. Make sense? I was wondering if we tried to blockade this way, if it was too soon. So he's not going to take our bishop. He's going to take, let's say he takes with the bishop, because otherwise the pawn hits. So he gets a piece. If we get a piece, he gets a piece. If we get a piece, I mean, it's playable, but not what I wanted. And if you take with the pawn at any moment, you're getting yourself an isolated pawn. And then what's the point? Yeah, I definitely don't want to play this. Gross. I mean, it's totally playable and symmetrical and even, but after queen b3, I feel like I'm the one who's more on the defensive. I don't like this at all. The symmetry, the lack of initiative, gross. Yeah, so I don't like that engine move. b6 I like because it's, you know, in the Panov attack, it's the natural move to develop your bishop on a beautiful diagonal. Okay, but anyway, we go for a different idea that exists, which is to use this knight to get there. And they're saying his best move is a3, which I find weird just because now when I put it here, don't I just have what I want? Knight e5. I mean, I feel like I have what I want. These knights are blockading the d, the queen also. Now I was going to go b6 and fianchetto. I don't know. Looks good to me, but okay. I mean, I didn't make any mistakes or inaccuracies, so it's a fine move. Just a little odd. And now he pushes, which I thought was premature with my knight here because that's an extra attacker. So we take free stuff, force move, force move, and then he moves his queen. But I don't think that that is compensation. Saying that, okay, I get the rook in with tempo, all of my pieces are active, but at the end of the day, I'm up this e-pawn. And so if I don't get checkmate, well, not checkmate, if I can resist the pressure all as a total, in total, because he doesn't have to go for checkmate. If I let him win, a queenside pawn, that's good enough. So I just have to resist in total. And since it's my turn, queen a5 does a good enough job. Black is ever so slightly better because he's up the pawn. But at the end of the day, with such an open board, the queen, minor pieces, two rooks, it's extremely holdable for white. Until he blunders his knight, which gives us the free win. But of course, even if it's holdable for white, you'd rather be the guy up a pawn. Our next move, I mean, he would have brought the rook in, a normal player, and this would have denied us from going here, which would be the desired path if we could choose. So we might have to make a little bit of a weakness and go b6. But then he's going to have ideas of rook d7 because of our minor piece placement. Okay. Interesting. If we did jump the knight in here, he could add pressure to it, and then it's weird because it would be hanging. So you would have to move it again. So it's not my favorite. So this is actually tricky to play for black, oddly enough, even though we're up a pawn. And but when I say tricky, I mean tricky to keep the initiative. Not like you're going to lose or anything, but tricky to maintain the advantage, let's say. So what is his best move if I go here? Oh, I see. He can rook lift. That's annoying. So maybe it's in my best interest to give back this pawn just to open the lines easy. You know, put the knight here and say, who cares? Eventually you'll take and win this pawn, but it'll be bishop versus knight. It'll be an even game. Okay, that works too. So you can see how the isolated pawn works and what everyone's looking for from both sides. All in all, it's important. I guess the moral of the story is if you get hit with the pawn-off attack, keep your bishop inside the pawn chain. That's very important to keep that in your head. Because if you develop it outside, you will lose the game. So, good to know. Put it here. See you in the next video. Good luck.